Hey there, senior leader, and welcome to the Talent Sherpa podcast. This is where senior leaders come to rethink how human capital really works. I'm your host, Jackson Lynch, and today we're going to poke a stake in the eye of one of those uncomfortable truths that most companies quietly live with. HR gets misunderstood. And joining me is my co-host, Scott Morris. He's the founder of Propulsion AI, master of cutting through the noise. I had a different word. And master... and the guy that I call when I need to hear the hard truth.
It's kind of you to say, Jack, this is the short version of this topic. It's the lightning fast version. But if you want a longer version, and I would recommend it on this one, we drop long form content tomorrow. So check out this same topic, but in a much more rich conversation.
And the conversation today is, what do you do when the entire department's purpose is being misread? Like assuming the fire department is just there to polish the truck. It's frustrating, it's infuriating sometimes, costly, and if you're running a business, it's draining your performance more than you think. Scott, I know that you have thoughts, because you always have thoughts. And sometimes words, and those words get bigger and bigger every time you have another thought. Yeah. Let's get uncomfortably introspective together.
Here's the question, right? Why do operational leaders undervalue HR? And my answer is because we've conditioned them to do it. Most CEOs, COOs, CFOs, they're operating from what they've seen. And if in their experience, HR is about compliance paperwork and backfilling roles, then that's what they come to expect. They behave a certain way because we've conditioned them. And that conditioning then leads them to behave a certain way with us, which puts us in a box and perpetuates the cycle.
Exactly. If the business thinks that our value is just reactionary problem solving, handling issues, processing hires, keeping data clean, although sometimes that doesn't happen very well, we miss the entire opportunity to shape strategy. And most HR scorecards, Scott, I don't think they help. It's like looking in a rearview mirror with metrics that look backwards and sometimes vanity metrics like completion rates and survey participation.
Yeah, and we think because we've got this big scorecard and dashboard of HR metrics that they are, good, right? But if you're focused on activities, then you're not really talking about what drives business performance. And so instead of talking about how many people completed our engagement survey, we should be talking about revenue per employee or top performer concentration risk. That shifts the conversation immediately.
So here's the big question, Scott. What's the root cause? Is it us or is it them?
And it's a hard question and it's a hard answer because the answer is both, at least in my point of view. We train them to see things a certain way. They keep us there. And the only way to get out of that cycle is to start speaking a different language and to have a different point of view about the business. That's our tie to their scorecard, not theirs to ours.
So what happens if they just don't get it, though?
Well, context matters. And so I think you've got to evaluate, like if you're a CHRO and you are looking at roles and that role reports to the CHRO role that you're considering, reports to the CFO, you understand that context and you understand from the outset that it's going to be an uphill battle. No disrespect to CFOs, but the human capital function should report to the CEO. And if it doesn't in that organization, then you have to be ready for that. Think carefully about taking the job. Now, reporting to the CEO is better, but you still need to know, does the CEO see HR as a strategic driver or as a cost center? They've already, marginalized it in some businesses, and you're not going to change that overnight. So I think you got to pay attention first to the context.
Yeah, it won't change it overnight. It might not change it at all. So let me share a real example. My company that I've been working for is going through not a great time to be in my industry, and bankruptcies are every place, including ours. So we sold the company as part of that process, and I was not planning to stay. But after a few meetings, the new CEO asked me to join the Go Forward team. Now, I have really personal reasons to consider it, including kind of continuation of income and benefits. But I didn't want to sign on for the frustration. So I did what anyone smart would do. I went out to the car, sat in the parking lot, and I called my friend Scott. And we decided that the conversation that we needed to have was about the business strategy through a talent lens. I had a pretty strong point of view. So I told the CEO, here's what's happening if we're going to change nothing. And here's the root causes behind our risk. And here's what we need to do differently over the next 12 months. And I talked about things that you would expect me to: talent density, leverage, clarity of expectations, and even how I'd handle the exits quickly and respectfully. And then I asked him to think about whether I am the right person for this. And about 24 hours later, he came back and said, I don't think I want to have the HR that you bring to the table. And I told him, I think that's wise. I'm glad we figured it out now, because it's better to do it up front before we're both in and the relationship is in a different session.
One of the things I really appreciate about you and I respect about you, Jack, is that you eat the dog food, right? That's the takeaway. You had personal reasons, really compelling ones, to stay, but you walked away because it wasn't going to be right for the business and it wasn't going to be right for you. Now, I think the lesson for the CHRO is very subtle in the story that you just told, but it's really critical. It's not enough to want strategic HR versus tactical HR. You need to have a plan for moving the business forward through human capital. You had that plan, and that's what you were vetting with your CEO. And so it's not like, yeah, I don't want to do tactical HR, I want to do strategic HR. Do you understand how the business is going to get driven forward? It's not enough that you measure revenue per employee. Do you understand what controls revenue per employee? Do you have a plan for changing that? Do you understand those levers? Because if you don't, it doesn't matter whether the CEO gets it or not, whether they want strategic HR or not. You don't have a plan for what you're going to do.
And let me talk to the CEOs who listen in. You got to hire for that plan. So if you're thinking about the business in a certain way, and you have the conversations with your HR person, you ask them for the plan, and you get a list of processes instead of business performance playbooks. Big red flag, as the kids say today. Because every strategy problem and every execution problem at its root core boils down to a talent problem. The right people in the right roles, working on the right outcomes, right priorities, right talent, right relationships. That's the whole game.
Let's wrap this thing up, Jack. Here's my summary, right? You've got to understand how your business makes money and how it loses money. You've got to build a plan to influence those numbers through human capital. You've got to speak the language of the business to the CEO, to the CFO, to the COO when you present it. If your CEO won't let you run that playbook, then you've got to think twice about taking that job.
100%. And one last tip. In a CHRO interview, I encourage you to ask the CEO to walk you through the last 10 discussions that they had with their last person. That tells you exactly where they are and whether they are ready for the HR that you can bring. So that's a wrap for today. Thank you for listening to the Talent Sherpa podcast. This is where, as you know, senior leaders come to rethink how human capital really works. I want to give a shout out to one of our favorite listeners and a longtime friend of mine. Hi, James. Thanks for being part of the Talent Sherpa community.
If you enjoyed the podcast today, check out our longer form on this subject. It's a good conversation, but definitely hit like, subscribe if you would, and leave us a review. You can choose it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube.
Yeah, that's the way the algorithm works. If you like what we're bringing to you, please help us to get broader reach and visibility for others. And if you're like most CHROs and your CEO has said you need to do AI and you're wondering where to start that journey, please check out Scott's Propulsion AI at getpropulsion.ai. They are transforming how smart companies turn HR insights into outcomes.
If you're a new or emerging CHRO, or if you're ready to accelerate your impact, check us out on Substack. Go to talentsherpa.substack.com or mytalentsherpa.com.
Yeah, we have things there that will help you get ready and make an impact on day one. So until next time, please keep pushing the limits, keep focusing on outcomes, and keep on climbing.